Hello everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I am honored to be here with Concord 9th with their birthday bash celebration. They are celebrating their birthday this month with a fun blog hop which features a bunch of different designers every single day featuring Concord 9th products. Today I'm going to be featuring their Being Classy stamp set and coordinating dies in this fun and colorful watercolor card set. This card set features a really fun watercoloring technique. I'm going to show you how to create a beautiful rainbow background using Zig Clean Color markers. I'm also going to be sharing with you a faux letterpress technique, which is going to help you create the look of letterpressing using your coordinating dies and a couple of other simple supplies. So let's get started. Here I've got my Zig Clean Color markers and I'm coloring them onto some Strathmore watercolor paper, and I'm just scribbling on the color because what I'm doing is creating a rainbow background that goes from red to orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, just like the rainbow would. And I'm blending the colors together as I dry in between each layer. So here you can see I've already added the red, that is dry. I added the yellow and I dried that. And now I'm going in with the orange and I'm going to blend the two colors together with that orange color. And what I love about this Strathmore watercolor paper, which is different than the Bristol paper, is that it blends really well with the Zig Clean Color markers, but you still get that beautiful texture of watercolor paper. I love using this particular paper with the Zig Clean Color markers. Now I'm bringing in a blue color and I'm going to go ahead and add that color down towards the bottom. And you'll notice that I'm skipping colors as I work down the paper. And that's because I want to be able to blend the two colors. So in this case it was the red and the yellow, and now the yellow and the blue. I want to blend them together with the color that ends up being in between. And that's going to help me get a much smoother blend. Now I'm also drying in between each layer because I don't want the colors to blend too much. I want them to blend a little, but I don't want them to blend completely because these Zig Clean Color markers really do spread once you start to add the water on there. So here I'm adding in the purple and I'm just blending that in onto the blue. And because I was creating a set of three, I created three different backgrounds all the same way, and you can see they all look fairly similar. And now I'm going to take my distress sprayer, and my distress sprayer is going to help me get those water splatters onto the backgrounds. And that's one of the things I love about Zig Clean Color markers is that they react with water just like distress inks would, which helps you get some really fun effects. So I let that water sit onto the paper for about, I'd say a minute or so, and then I went ahead and lifted it off with my rag. And I'm making sure I don't smear the rag across the paper because that's going to smear the colors. And I just want to lift it off very cleanly. I'll go ahead and dry those papers until I have them completely dried, and then I'll go ahead and start working on my stamping and die cutting. Now here I've got my Misty stamping tool, and I'm mounting the sentiments from the Being Classy stamp set from Concord 9th into the Misty tool. I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, so I want to make sure I prep the surface of the paper with my EK Success powder tool. You can use any type of anti-stick powder to go ahead and neutralize the static on the paper. A dryer sheet would also work, and I've also known of people who use kitchen flour. Definitely check around your house to see if you have anything that would help you do the same thing in just neutralizing the static on the paper. Now I'm going to go ahead and ink up that stamp with the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing ink because I'm going to go ahead and do some heat embossing. I love the Simon ink for heat embossing my images because the ink is so juicy and it captures all the details of the stamps that I use it with. This ink has literally become my only used embossing ink pad. I never use my Versamark ink at this point anymore. Once in a while I'll use it for something. So say like if I was doing something like a background and I was using a lot of heavy ink, like smearing the ink all over it, I might use it for that, but otherwise I just use the Simon ink. Now I've added some Ranger white embossing powder on top of this sentiment, and I'll go ahead and heat set this. And I repeated the same thing for all the sentiments that I used on each card. So here I'm stamping the word kind, and I'll go ahead and stamp that down onto another rainbow panel. And I'll do the same thing with the other large script sentiment that's included in the Being Classy stamp set, which says courageous. So I'll go ahead and ink that one up as well, and I'll stamp that down. Next, let's go ahead and start working on our faux letterpress. Here I've got my Big Shot platform. I'm on the final tab here. You can see tab 1 is there on the left-hand side. This is the base platform that we're going to be using here. I'm going to take my Sizzix Textures impression plate. And this is basically like a cutting mat, except it's plastic. So if you don't have this, you could use a cutting plate instead. Although I have it, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. It's a nice firm surface. I'll next take my silicone rubber mat, which is also part of the Sizzix Textures line. You could use a mouse pad in place of this particular piece of rubber mat. Basically, you want something that's not going to end up getting cut through when we use our dies. Next, I'm going to take my paper, I'm going to lay that down on top of the rubber mat, And I'm going to apply my dye right over top of the sentiment. So it's going to go ahead and outline the sentiment that we've heat embossed onto our paper. I'll go ahead and tack that down with a piece of washi tape. It's just going to make sure it doesn't go anywhere as we run this through our die cutting machine. And I'll go ahead and run that through. And then after I've run it through, you can see here as I remove the dye, how it creates that gorgeous impression into the paper, almost like letterpressing. You can see on the back, it did not cut through. And here's a close-up look of that gorgeous texture. I just love this technique. And it is really, really great. It reminds me so much of those beautiful note cards that you can buy that have the fun letterpressing, outlining all the patterns. Really, really fun technique. I love this. So next I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this kind sentiment. I'll go ahead and run this through with the dye, and I'll go ahead and use the same exact sandwich. And I did the same thing for the thoughtful one. So here's another close-up look. You can see that great texture. And again, this is a really fun way to get some more mileage out of your dyes. So now it's time to go ahead and stamp the rest of the sentiment. Here I've got the words be and the ampersand and the word classy. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp these down using a couple different ink colors. I'm going to use Ruby Red from Altenew and also some Ocean Waves. I'm using the Ruby Red for the top word, the B, and the rest of it's going to be stamped in the Ocean Waves. Now the B stamped out just fine. I love the color saturation of the B, but the being classy was blending in just a little too much. So to fix that, I'm just going to stamp that sentiment once again using the Ocean Waves ink. And I'm going to actually stamp it 3 times, and that's going to darken the sentiment up a little bit and really help it stand out. It's got that same color tone of the Ocean Waves, which I really wanted because it matched the blue in my card perfectly, but it has a much richer and darker tone. So it's a really great way to add darker color to your stamping by just repeating the stamping over and over again. And the Misty makes it so much easier because you're stamping in the same exact place every time. I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other cards. This one I'm using some Green Hills ink from Hero Arts. I'm going to stamp that "That's You" onto the card underneath Courageous. And I did end up stamping another word above Courageous. Later on, I decided I wanted to have an extra word in there. Now for the thoughtful one, I stamped the "So" at first in an orange soda ink from Hero Arts. And as I was stamping later on, I realized, you know what? That "So" is just not standing out as boldly as I wanted it to. So I'll end up going back over top of that with a Ruby Red ink that I used for the first card. And I did the same thing for the Courageous card. I used a Ruby Red to go ahead and stamp the other sentiment above the word Courageous. So I just changed things up a little bit as I went along, but you can see here the same idea applies as I just go ahead and stamp things down using my Misty tool. And here you can see all the sentiments that I've created using the Being Classy stamp set. I love this stamp set in that you can create your own custom sentiments, and I love the fonts that are included in this set. It's really, really great. So now it's time to go ahead and add some embellishing. I'm using some Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear sequins. I love my Sparkling Clear sequins because they add so much gorgeous shimmer to the card. I'm attaching those down using some glossy accents, and I'll just make sure I get them in place. And I love using glossy accents for the Sparkling Clear because it's not going to show through. For everything else, I use PPA matte adhesive, but for my Sparkling Clear sequins, I definitely always reach for my glossy accents. Okay, so now it's time to go ahead and work on our card bases. I've cut down some Neenah Solar White cardstock into A2 size cards that are scored at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And now I'm taking a basic stitch line die from My Favorite Things, and I'm running this through my Big Shot machine to create some nice stitching detail around all the edges of the card. I'm going to take some score tape, and this is just some strong double-sided adhesive, on the back side of all of my card panels. And once I have all the adhesive applied down, I'm going to remove the backing, and I'll lay those down right onto my card bases, right in the center area of where all that nice stitching detail is. These cards are great for mailing because they're really flat. Only the embellishments are the only thing that's really adding any sort of bulk to these cards. So this makes a really great card design for mailing out cards. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of extra embellishing using the Nouveau Crystal Drops. This is the white gloss color. I just wanted to add a few extra embellishments around the sequins to help fill things in. And I really love how these Nouveau Crystal Drops allow you to create the look of enamel dots very quickly and easily, and you can create any size you want. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this fun look at creating some rainbow background cards, as well as a faux letterpress technique that helps you create some fun highlightings to stamped images on your cards. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and head on over to my blog where you can get more information on these cards, including still pictures and products used. I also have a giveaway over on my blog as part of the Concord 9th birthday bash celebration, so please head on over there to check that out as well. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one you might like featuring some fun watercoloring techniques. Please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can connect with me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, as well as my blog. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you again soon.